So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and tonight I have all the members from Herakleion. They're a death thrash metal band from Louisiana, and they're gonna put out an EP next week, September the 13th, and we're here to talk all about that EP and more. So, first of all, how are you guys?
Doing well,
Doing good,
man.
man.
Doing all right. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and we're all on couches, so we are true to the theme of the channel.
It's the
Yeah,
fortunate
so
dudes on couches.
yeah, so tell us your name and what you do in the band.
I am Christian, and I am the bass player.
I'm Speed and I play drums.
I'm Apollo. I sing and I play the guitar.
Awesome. I like that the drummer's name is Speed.
Thanks.
That's his real
Because,
name,
yeah,
by the way.
that's your real name?
That's
yeah,
my first
dude.
name.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I thought that would be like a like an artist name. So that's
Speed means
interesting.
drummer.
Were your parents Speed into the hospital and they named you? Let's just name him Speed.
I don't know. They were doing something. They were
Yeah,
picking a good name.
yeah, but you had a lot of pressure on you when you were young because yeah, what if you weren't speedy enough? Like you have to be fast. So yeah, let's talk about yeah. Let's talk about the EP that you're gonna put out next week. So first of all, the EP is it's great. It's really old school sounding. And I was reading that you did this the old school way, like you did analog to tape. Like when you guys were going to do this, what exactly said to you, like, yeah, let's make this like they did in the past?
Everything we listen to is pre-digital for the most part, and our writing style is more akin to stuff that was recorded analog. And especially this batch of songs, it has a lot of headroom to it and needs to feel weighty. So we figured we'd go and do it to tape and really give it that warmth that it needed.
Okay. Yeah, no, it really has that sound, and it sounds right now today it sounds different than everything because now everything's so digital that it sounds truly unique. How was the process of doing analog and recording to tape for you guys? Because I also read that you had no click track.
Nope, none of that stuff, man. It can be unforgiving at times, but it's very rewarding. When you're on that take, you know it and you feel it. And when you get to the finish line and you're listening back to everything and it sounds tight, it's really something else. It sounds like the song breathes. It feels like it has a life of its own rather than just all these, perfectly placed blocks next to each other. So I would say it's tough, but it's worth the push.
So when you guys went into, I'm guessing you did what they did back in the day. How long were you like practicing these songs? So when you went into the studio, you were airtight, so you could do this and not spend as much time on the studio.
We had them written probably about a half a year in advance. And in between shows and being on the road, we'd come back and work them and work them and work them until they were where we wanted. And we reached out to our producer and hit the road and went to the studio.
Okay. So how long did the recording actually take for the EP?
5 days of recording time.
Truly old school. Get in and get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's better when you don't overthink and you do something like that when you do like something like some bands that that work for an album for 10 years and then it comes out and it sounds like shit.
It's overthought and overworked at that point.
Yeah.
When you have 5 days, you go in and you do what needs to be done and you get out, and that's what happened. You've captured that moment rather than 300 takes later of the song and that soul that it has been lost 200 takes ago.
Yeah. And this EP, is called the Necroverse. So is there is it like a concept EP or is there like a running theme? Because I I saw the songs, I thought that, yeah, this sounds like it's a sequencing.
The album is purely conceptual. Every song in its own unique way tells a story about leaving the mortal plane into the realm of the dead, or the universe of the dead, known as the Necroverse. So it is a concept, yes.
Yeah, it says EP, but I don't know. Like sometimes, like you could have called this an album because there's bands that release an album that's 18 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
Right.
I get confused sometimes on the EP album. So this is your first EP or album, because I know you released some singles that are in this, but this is your first proper release, correct?
We had an EP out a couple of years ago, but this is the follow-up to that. So
Okay. And I know you guys are going on tour, I think like very soon with Goatwhore. That's a huge tour for you guys. Tell me about like that upcoming tour that you guys are having.
So we just got back from our leg of that a couple of weeks ago, and it was really good. It was a fun time, lots of really big shows, and
Yeah, it was I thought it said September there. Or was it in August?
it was August.
Yeah, we were out in August.
Oh yes, you know what? I saw Nines, and I'm like, oh, they're going on a tour. So you already went on the tour with Goatwhore. How was the experience then of touring with a band that's is very well known?
It was great, man. They're our friends, and it was just a good time hanging out with our friends and being on the road. Ben Falgoose, he was a fantastic tour manager. I mean, not only does he front a very kick-ass band, but he's the guy when you're on the tour. He's helping everybody with their gear, coordinating everything. Learned a lot from watching them and watching him. Made friends with the guys in Vitriol and Thanafaxith, both killer bands. And everyone's at the top of their game and has been doing it, at least 10 years on that tour so we really had to step our game up to compete with these guys who've been veterans in the biz for a long time. And, it pushed us to our limits, and it was a really fun experience. So I'm very well worth it. And I wish I could do it over again, man. I'm sad it's over for sure.
Well, at least you had the experience. So I'm wondering now that you really that you recorded this way, analog to tape. Like, will you all your future releases? Do you want to keep doing this that way, or would you venture into other areas, or just keep it doing that way?
I mean, it worked, and I think it made us tighter in the process
Mhm.
for sure. And I think it's the move for us. I think it fits our sound and kind of captures that mood we're going for. So unless things change with the sound, I think that's the way we're gonna do things.
I agree.
That's the way you'll do it. So
Mhm.
for you guys, growing up and getting into music, which bands got you into heavy music?
I mean, Queen was definitely like my initial intro into rock and roll, and so, but I mean, like, I think for a lot of people, it starts off with like, you get this like classic rock, and then all of a sudden you listen to Black Sabbath, and then that puts you down a rabbit hole where you're looking for the next heaviest thing and extreme thing and death metal and grindcore and all that. But I would say that was my first, like, I think I like distorted guitars, and it's just kind of like gone downhill ever since. But for the fellows over here.
I mean, I personally grew up with all kinds of. I was raised in a house with all different kinds of music, international, like stuff like Ravi Shankar, Indian sitar music and stuff like that. So my introduction to music was very broad, but as far as, a heavier kind of line of music, I started off with, the big four and all that. And then I started going to tonic thrash, Bay Area thrash, and then not before too long into the heavier stuff, Florida death metal, Swedish death metal, grindcore.
I mean, I bought Judas Priest Unleashed in the East and Voivod's Roar when I was 6-ish, and then it's just been the pursuit of, all right, what's heavier than those things and more extreme, and it's just been up and up and up the whole time. Now we're here.
Yeah. So one of the singles that you guys released for this is The Tomb, which is a very kick-ass track. Tell me a little bit about the concept of the tune.
It's based on the H.P. Lovecraft story of the tomb. We kind of just added our own twist to it, but basically it's someone who becomes obsessed with rather a mausoleum that he or she, I think it's he.
It's a he.
Yeah, he passes by a lot. And sometimes I think he goes to visit it and he sleeps a lot and he has all these weird dreams. So it's based off of that story by H.P. Lovecraft.
And as it pertains to our concept of the album of the Necroverse, where he's slowly transitioning into that, you know, realm of the dead by, you know, his obsession with this specific, you know, tomb. Yeah.
Yeah, and also you got a music video for that one. And talking about that, it goes with the artwork for the Necroverse EP. It's really cool. I want to show it so we can talk about the artwork. So yeah, cool artwork. Tell me a little bit about what you guys were going for with this.
So we found the artist first in this case, before we had a concept for the cover, and we deliberated the kind of way to go with him. We sent him all the lyrics and the songs and let him come up with the artwork and the concept for it, which is very much based around the lyrical themes of the whole EP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know it also you guys even in the artwork, this is very, you know, old school artwork, very attention to detail. Yeah, it's a really cool artwork and it goes with the music. So yeah, you guys are like paying homage and getting from your influences, but even though it's analog to tape, it doesn't sound dated. It's like doing this at this moment in time. Plus, I'm guessing that helps you like as musicians, you know, because to like you said, being tighter. And maybe like if you could do it that way, when you get to play it live, it's easier to play because you're not relying on modern shit to get like a pristine sound.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So besides the tomb, do you have any? I know that Blood of Nisus is also a single that you released, but right now, like which one do you guys have like a favorite song out of this, and why it's your favorite?
It's very interesting. I think we might all have our own opinions on that.
Yeah.
I would say probably if I were to pick a favorite, maybe our recent release, Blood of Nessus, is my personal favorite because it shows, it's also one of the last songs we wrote for the record.
That's true.
So it just shows a growth in the songwriting process for me. So that's why it's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. I would have to say that probably the title track of the EP is my favorite. It's we usually end up playing it last during the set, and it's kind of like, you know, our big send off at the end of a set, and it's got a really, you know, it's got a powerful beginning, a powerful end, and it's kind of like the, you know, when your gas tank's running low, you give it everything you got right there at the end, and you know, tried to convey that same energy when we were recording. You know, so I would have to say that it's my personal favorite for that one.
That's why you have it as the EP finisher as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has that. What about you, Speed?
I like the tomb a lot. I think it was fun. I got to have a heavy hand in the theme of the song and stuff, and it came together the quickest instrumentally.
Mm-hmm.
That one just kind of slipped into place, and the theme followed because I was reading the short story a bunch, and I don't know, that one was just really memorable. It was one of the first that we wrote for the EP. It's a good one, I think.
Good one. So you guys as a band, do you collaborate in the writing of the lyrics, or or is, you know, it's a cooperative process and not just one man writes the lyrics?
Lyrically, I would say me and Speed kind of have a hand in it. I'm weird with lyrics, so I usually send it to the dudes and they're like, "Oh, that's really cool. Maybe change this part, but all that's really fine." So,
Mhm.
mostly our collaboration is really in the music.
Mhm.
Music. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Where would you say you're weird with lyrics? In what way?
I have my own poetry. I mean, if for some people they would read the lyrics and they'll be like, "Well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense grammatically," but it's paint your own story, you can visualize it however you want. It doesn't have to be how we portray it, but however you take it yourself.
Okay. So what the when you're writing the lyrics, like usually, what's your process for lyric writing?
Um, I'd like to first we usually have the song before we have the
Mhm,
lyrics.
mhm.
I haven't really come up with lyrics first before a song. It's always riffs. And then based on the riffs, if we have a concept or a story beforehand, then it kind of just works its way you know, in the writing process. So lyrics are always for me last.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense. And you put lyrics that like fit the song, like especially like the parts you have to play the guitar, like when to sing and when to
Right,
like pull back and stuff.
right.
Uh, yeah.
Because I always remember, even when I'm writing lyrics, I'm always going to be singing and playing this. So, am I going to be able to write something that I can sing and play? So I always take that in account first when I'm writing lyrics.
Okay. So I know you already had that tour. So what's next for once you drop the EP next September 13? Do you have some more shows planned for the year?
Yeah, so on the 13th, we're playing another city in Louisiana for our release show. And then following that, we're heading to Florida the following week and doing 4 shows out there. Then November, we're hitting the Midwest and playing Chicago and all that stuff.
Nice. Yes. Is that gonna be a tour, you guys, or are you gonna be like with other? Is there gonna be like other bands with you guys?
All of that's just solo headline stuff for us.
Okay. So yeah, it seems like it's gonna be you're gonna be busy doing that. Are you already thinking of new music at the moment, or you're just concentrating on this one?
No,
We've
new
already got
music's
new
on the way,
stuff.
man. Yeah, the writing never really stops. I mean, sometimes it's slower than others, but we're always, even if we can't get together, the three of us, each one of us are always coming up with things on our own, an audio file on our phones that are like 40, 50 deep of just riffs or lyrics he has written down, or I mean, concepts for stories written down on his phone. Whether or not we can get in the room and work on that collectively as a whole kind of comes and goes. But we're coming up here on some free time where we're really going to have a lot more time to work on that, as well as the fact that we do have a lot more music already done past this EP. So, there's definitely a lot of ammunition in the clip right now, as far as new content and new songs goes.
Are you gonna like follow the same themes that you did here on the EP that's coming, or are you gonna tackle different themes and like times?
It depends on what strikes us to write about. At the moment it's a little sporadic. There's no larger concept to kind of pull from like we did with this EP.
It's going to be a bit of everything,
It's going to be a little bit of everything.
mythology, history, biblical, science fiction, kind of all of that.
Yeah, like a lot of bands do that stuff. Do you like do you have like a favorite theme that you like to cover? Do you prefer like things that are with mythology, or do you like the sci-fi stuff?
We seem to keep coming back to Greek mythology at least once a release. So that's, I mean, the name Herakleion in of itself is Greek as well, but there's a lot of cool stuff to pull from mythology, and it's such a deep well of stories and cool things to pull from, and there's always more to study. I mean, in any pantheon of any world region, whether it's Eastern or Western, Japanese, Greek, Indian,
Right.
there's so much cool stuff out there. And it's hard to, write complete thoughts about one particular thing in the deep lore of all these, different religions and mythologies. But there's no shortage of things to research and
about.
talk
Yeah.
about and to write about.
Yeah, the list can just only expand.
Aliens, centaurs, gods, all that. there's so much to pick from. It never
You don't need
stops.
to limit yourself. So, we're almost the year is almost ending. Like besides, working on your music, is there do you have like a favorite release so far from this year?
Favorite release this year? I'm trying to think.
Yeah. Or that you're listening to?
I've been listening to there's a band I really enjoy from Oklahoma City called Chat Pile, and they've got a new record coming out soon. I've really enjoyed the singles that they've been putting out. Sonically, that was one of the best bands I'd ever heard live. I got the privilege to see them in Birmingham, Alabama earlier this year. And that was a fantastic show. And they're a really fantastic band. And, it's not necessarily in the realm of, death metal or anything. It's a little more, like grunge, experimental, noise rock type stuff. But I
Sounds
really,
interesting.
yes, indeed. So that's a band I'm definitely keeping a close eye on and anticipating the new album for sure.
Yeah. I've been seeing that lately. There's a lot of like younger bands doing like old school, more like 90s death metal, and a lot of like grunge too. They're bringing those two back. I like both of them. So I think it's a good thing that there's younger bands doing like bringing that style back. So who like Speedy or like what are you guys listening to anything right now? Like
I've been kind of going backwards, but the new Blood Incantation single was cool. It was a bit different than what they did before. It was like a really, really long song that incorporated all their different kind of styles into it. It was cool, but other than that, it's been digging backwards into other kind of music.
I've been listening to a lot of black metal recently. So there's this band called Dodds Heimgard, and they have a recent record that came out in 2023. I thought it was really cool. There's this band Horns and Hooves that just came out with an EP 2024. It's really awesome. They incorporate like this weird disco pop black metal kind of stuff. It's really cool. You're gonna have to check it out.
what's the name of the band?
Horns and Hooves.
Horns. I'll
Horns
have
and
to
Hooves.
check it out.
They're a band out of Brooklyn, New York. They're really cool. 3-piece
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, awesome. I think there's a lot of cool bands like doing like experimental things in metal, and great to have like bands that are doing analog recording, old school, and it's good. So because we want musicians that can play and not rely on their laptops when you go to a show. So yeah, that's a good thing. So I want to thank you guys from like taking some time to chat with me, from your couch in Louisiana to my couch here in Puerto Rico. Before I let you go, anything that you would like to say to the fans?
If you want to check out our new EP, you can find it on our Bandcamp page with the thing, or you can go to Herakleion.net. We've got all the physical copies and shirts you'd ever want.
September 13th, into the Necroverse. Yes, indeed.
I'll put it in the comments so people can pre-order it. So thank you guys for joining me. So Couchers, you heard it. The EP is out next week, the 13th. So until next time, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.